right if you like.
No worries. No worries. All right. Are you going to stick around, or are you going to head on out?
Well, I'm going to lurk here. I wasn't going to contribute, but I just kind of wanted to see what this whole thing is and get a sense of that. So I'm not to bother you.
Okay. So, Jim, we never met. Mine is Colin. And you work with Ben, correct? Ben Christensen?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
This is my direct supervisor.
Pronouncing your name correctly? What's your name?
It's actually Jerry, but you could just call me Jay. You could just call me Jay, Paul. A-Y. It's a lot of people really find it hard to pronounce.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I think I just like Amar joining too. As well.
It's actually, yeah, no, I'm used to it. Yeah, Jerry, but it's okay. Jay's fine.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyways, for Amar. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that name correct either.
Sure.
All right.
Well, I'm just going to be on mute, so I'm going to be working on some other stuff as well, but I just wanted to kind of follow along. So if you need me, just call out to me, but I'm going to be as silent as I can be.
Okay, hey, good morning, Gamar.
Good morning.
Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Can you help?
That's fine. Yeah.
Gamar. Okay. Mine
They
is
call me
Colin.
Mac. Yes.
Okay. You can still call me Colin, but if you want to call me Colin, that'll work too. And you both work with Ben, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then I know the connection here, and I think that last night we had a large number of people on this call, and I'm not sure whether I was going to expect a number this morning, but I did expect you to, so I'm really pleased to see you here, and thank you both taking time out to come here this morning. I appreciate that. We probably won't take the full 2 hours because it's just 3 of us. I've got Mark Matthias, who's lurking in the background. He's responsible for these first slides that we're going to go through. And I'm not spending a lot of time on them. I don't know how much you guys know about EEs or SAP in particular. And I will make this deck available to you, and I will also make myself available to you both. And we're going to actually spend time together getting more into the details over the coming days and weeks. You guys become 2 of the experts in this system. I kind of fly through it. If you have questions at any time, please do interrupt. There's not sure that's going to cause us problems. Here's our agenda. We're going to talk about what an ERP is, Enterprise Resource Planning System. We're going to about what we're doing in phase 1, and then all hyperlinked slides in the deck are related to some of the activities that we're going to be doing. The first the 2 are primarily going to be involved really just in the final phases of the step in this process, but I want to kind of get familiar with it. So SAP is one of the providers of Enterprise Resource Planning System. And what an ERP does is it brings together the systems into a single back office, so it pulls all the different pieces together. It's used primarily by large companies. This way, SAP was created back in the days of mainframe. There are implementations available for companies the size such as Apple and smaller and others in between. Tremendously, we know that one of our competitors has been using in the SAP system, and it's been working for them. SAP is a very old, very established system, so we're very confident that it is robust to doing. We're fusing in different aspects of the ERP over a period of time. This initial phase, we focus on the recruiting piece so that we could better support our recruiting organization. And we've got I had to put in 3 modules. The first one's eRecruit, which is about how our consultants come in or applicants come in from the internet or from our recruiting postings, and they communicate with the recruiters. And at that point, they'll engage with recruiting, and they'll get passed through. If they're on board and we bring them into the fold, and I'll show how that kind of looks on the next slide, they become part of the HCM system, Human Capital Management. And that's where you and I both will have our details, with our address, our banking details, and anything else we want to offer up in relation to our skill set to the company. You guys might say, I want to do something else with Apple, and you'll go in and you'll have an opportunity to build and tell more about yourself. And when we're looking for other people to work on other things, then you'll come up in those searches. This piece is what's called cProject. cProject is a smaller of a larger package, and it's about project management. And this is the visual that we're going to be looking at today, and the one that I need your help with for the search organization. You guys can become experts with this and support with this piece. And it's a fairly large application. I'll get to that in a minute. Before we get there, I want to quickly talk about how this all looks. You can see that in the white A is where everybody in the world kind of floats around. And B is there people who've engaged with us through our website or through job board postings or so whatever way they come in communication with us, and they're engaged with the recruiting organization. And they get passed through into the yellow, and they're as we say, on the bench. They have an app and ID, and they're available to become resources to some of the programs that we operate around the globe. There's a dotted line in there between CA and that kind of people who are pre-screen. Do you guys work with anything to do with pre-screen anymore? You work when I talk about pre-screening? Maybe
not.
Okay. So for the web, most of the web programs, Web 5 in particular, a QBank program, these have been trained in some way, but they're not working for us. They're working for us in the green, and that's when they're when they're green, they've been assigned in project to something, right? So it's looking at one is from all users, and then there's the external users. You and I are internal users, and to apply through those different portals become the external users. From perspective, we create positions and requisitions, we push it out, we get applicants, we process those applicants, and we assign them to projects. And in between being just an assigned, they become part of the human capital management system. From an external point of view, when they see SAP, is they're looking for an option. They can come in, and you could go into the SAP system, our web portals, look at what we've got, for something which then gets passed you through to eRecruit. Recruiters work with you, and hopefully that individual gets assigned some kind of an opportunity to repeat. So if it's to an ERP implementation like this, and again, we're initially engaging the recruiting organization with this, is to create better efficiencies with recruiting organization to find the onboarding process. So that you guys mentioned what someday all happen in the system, right? You guys will, I think you do a lot of work in things like Art, and probably mostly in Excel. You may touch on, I'm not sure if you touch on UHRS or not, and we should probably just the three of us get together, I think, and learn more about what you're doing now. And I share with you more about how it's important that you guys get to know the system and it will benefit you to become subject matter experts here. So we're going to be moving everything into this system. Not but down the road. There is, it happens fairly quickly, and there's an opportunity for you guys to get engaged right at the gate. Also, there's opportunities for us to do some testing and stuff down the road and pull that data and results into the system. Primarily, our goal was to get the recruiting organization set up in the ERP SE and get that streamlined. So probably you're going to see Bing, the Bing programs, the search organization being a primary user of the system, and a couple other business units as well. With app and online, for the time being, it's still on the outside of the bubble. This to, I think, so you guys know, because it's something involved with, is the rosters that we have on our SharePoint site will be rated into the SAP system this weekend. That means that we then have a catalog and we'll capture the details and we'll move those people to our long-term solution and only move their basic information. But it'll then to know that the people that are in the SAP update are ones that we're actively engaged with. But other people that we need to reach out to, and both groups will get a message from us sort of saying, hey, moved our system from Aleo to the SAP system. Here's an opportunity to go in there and provide us with more information. Okay? And then the mail applicants, if you're familiar with the mail system, are many thousands of people who are what we call sell, and it reaches out to them as well. It's really relevant to us. Roll out of other opportunities with the ERP, and we will be this down the road. In this phase, we're not looking at doing any payroll, finance, or project management, or any of that kind of stuff. All data will still have to be housed on the SharePoint site. Most of our project management will still happen in spreadsheets. But as you see in the bottom bullet here, at some point later this year, that will go away and we'll be migrating over into SAP. App and online, again, you and I that heavily engaged with this. Is more for our Australian partners. They are the ones that are more concerned with how app and online will integrate with this system at this point. This will be your liaison. So if you have any questions or problems with this, I want to invite you to feel free to reach out to me. I will myself available to you both. I know we're in very different time zones, but we will find some time that works for each, and I guess we'll have to make compromises. That's what we're doing today, and we'll make sure that you get the help and support and guidance that you need to be successful. If you're having problems with getting your system to run or installing the software or anything like that, and software you'll need to install right now is a VPN client. Dave Ambier is the guy to talk to about that. He can provide better guidance than I can. So I've been explaining to people that what I'd like to see us do initially roll out is become really familiar with it. I would ask you both to do, Matt and Jay, is to really, very basic, and there's going to be stuff we kind of want to stay away from, but I want you to become familiar with it so that when we roll this out, you'll be the subject matter experts. You'll be better positioned to help us, integrate the whole system and become involved with that. So it's a good thing for you guys. cProject is what I'm here to talk to you about today. And there are several functions of the system that are available to us initially, and we're going to focus really on a couple of them. You show that cProject, again, is part of a large package. It's project management as well as productivity management. Focusing on the project management so much as a place for the recruiters to have a place to put. Right now, I think you guys get a message, or maybe you can send that message out saying, people who have been onboarded, they're going to be working with that information in the roster. We might send them to UHRS, we might send them to a project manager, a team manager. The base functionality we're going to be looking at right now for recruiting is that when recruiting onboard somebody, somebody comes in from that white and they pass through that green, the green bucket they go into, which we call cProject. But there'll be functionality other than that. You're going to see some complex things on there. There's a whole bunch of options. Every look at this system, I learned something new. Every time I work with this system, something happens I didn't expect. And I want you to know that what I want you to focus on are the things that we're going to be using for the time being, so that you can safely ignore all the other stuff. It's noise for you right now, but down the road you'll become more familiar with it. Do we have questions at this point before I move on and get more into the meat of this?
It's still good.
Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate that. Project, there's always a hierarchy, and the hierarchy is really, to my mind, designed to serve how the system informs other parts of an enterprise resource planning system. So, finance and business planning and resources, those kinds of things. And it starts with a project. And what we decided to do at launch is that we're going to call one that you and I are going to be working on. It's going to call mapping, and I will set that up in the system. It only needs to be created once, and I will create that in the system so that you guys don't have to think about it. The same with the phases. Phases are what we think of as our purchase order name. So we have crowdsourcing, we have core relevance, we have ads, we have fix the world. Those are the projects and programs that you guys are familiar with will be put in phases. And again, I will create the phases myself sometime in the next couple of days. I'll show you how that happens. We're going to kind of go through the process. You have some understanding of how they all tie together. The task, and some might liken the task to be what we call a judge group in US. So we're going to call them ENUS crowdsourcing, US Web 5 ES Ads landing page, those kinds of things. So again, you should be familiar with that. And a task is the work that people will be doing for us. The role is what we call them is the position they hold to complete that task. And we have a handful of roles. We have obviously crowdsourcers, and we're going to call them crowdsource annotators. We have to web search evaluate and do things we're going to have, because in the world of search, people doing crowdsource activities or doing what is in the industry understood to be web search evaluation work, whether it's on ads, web, function, fix the world, or local, or multimedia. They all have the base role of being a web search evaluator. We have resources, and you and I are resources. And what we're doing, and the thing that you guys will need to know the most about are lots of things, the roles and the resources. When somebody gets we're looking for a Web 5 web search evaluator. A recruit identifies that resource. It gets passed through the Human Capital Management System, HCM, and they find an app and ID number, find out where their address is, where they live, their banking details so we can make sure they get paid. All that happens there. And what is that initial where we envisioned this, and it will probably be more over time. It will change over time. But the way to stand it and talking with Amanda and Rick, who have our recruiting organization, is they continue to get the spreadsheets we get to date from recruiting. And this individual in this market is being assigned to Web 5. And just assume for the time being that that's a straight assignment. There are no other processes involved. All I have to do then is put them into the 5-point bucket. We'll go in and we'll find the API system from cProject system. We'll effectively pull their IE, their attributes into cProject, and we'll assign them to a role. That role, we now know that we have somebody that's basically on what we have today the roster in Excel. So I think that probably is all pretty going to make sense more if we drive along. But the first thing we need to do is we need to connect to the VPN. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to open up the VPN. I thought I had this thing floated, but I'm not. I didn't. I get back there. Come on.
Sharing, I just see this desktop picture with a big planet in the background.
But the PowerPoint, I don't know why that happened.
I see top, but not the PowerPoint.
So how do I do it? I'm going to start second, and I'm going to share it again. Tap it as well. We'll figure that out. I just moved to a different screen. There it goes. So in order to do this, we're going to have to connect to a VPN. And I brought VPN up. I haven't connected yet. I learned last night we can probably do this, and I won't disconnect us. For my credentials, I'm going to have to go and find it because I suspect what's happening is it's underneath the screen. Interesting. Does seem to want to connect today. Well, it's not very. Close it. And I'll open it again. Okay, so I'll log in and then I'll bring you back in again. So we could fast morning. Incorrect. Oh dear. Oh, there it goes. Terminate. Mark. Failed. File.
You apparently are not sharing. At least I'm not seeing your screen.
No sharing.
Okay.
I've been using for a very long time, and for some reason tonight they are not working. I don't know this Mark without. There you go. That's username. Is cap on? No, caps lock is off. Done something. Think of.
Hey, do you want me to send you my credentials?
Sure, you could do that. If you're not, do you have access to cProject?
Well, this just gets us in the data center.
Oh, that's true. Yes, you're quite right.
You want me to email them to you, or what do you want?
Email them to me. I've got my email up on a different desktop.
What message is it giving you? Just the
Well,
word?
after I do it multiple times, it says being denied. And I had a correct password. The other day is, there it is, see that, terminated by client. I have my password in order to test my connection. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get in. But I reset it, and I've logged in multiple times since then with password. Go over here.
Also, is connection. You can use mine if you want. Oh, actually, let me just, I'm connected. Let me disconnect before you connect. Hang on a second.
Too late. Okay. Connected.
Connected, so that's good.
Okay. Good timing. So hopefully they saw some of that happen. That's the first time they had this particular issue.
I'll Dave know so he can possibly take a quick ad out of it, Onyx.
That'd be good. I appreciate that. All right, so let's go back to our PowerPoint. And what I want to do is I'm going to bring up this in here. So we're now connected to the VPN, which will allow me now to connect to cProject. So that's what I'm going to do next. I just figured out what I was doing. I'm okay. It was just me being a dummy. I was using this password, not my VPN password.
Okay. So I lower the red flag.
You can lower the red flag. Watch this. This is going to happen. Ooh. All right. Lessons learned. Hey, Matt, hope you're still with us. You giving up? Okay.
Yeah. I'm just listening to the conversation.
So the lesson we just learned is that there are two sets of credentials. One is for the VPN, and I think in my haste this morning, or I'm still waking up and I'm still on my first cup of coffee, is that I was using my password to authenticate into cProject to authenticate into the VPN client. VPN client is a very odd string of characters. It's assigned by the system. You can't change it. But you will get when you start initial actions to this system. You will. We're going into right now. We're in the production. We're not in the production environment. Using a 500 SAP error. You see errors in both systems still. And one of the reasons for this is that we haven't connected all the back-end pieces. Like I talked about earlier, we're not using all the things that we could be using in an ERP system. So SE has some connections between cProject and HM, but not all of them. And so throw a message that's not relevant to us because we're not going to, and we're trying to remove those errors. I want you to understand that you're going to see them and not to stress about them. When you click an OK button, things will go green for you. Okay? Mm-hmm. So what we do when we get here, if we want to go into and this is all documentation, I'll make sure you have is that project management. This is how I'm going to create the project, right? So again, what I want to do is I want to make sure that you guys have access to the environment, to the pre-production environment. You can go in and play around and see how things work and see how you do accomplish the same thing by doing a whole bunch of different things. I find that each time, and working with some people who have been helping me put together the walkthrough, we find that each time we stumble across a new way to do the thing we thought we clearly documented, and by I find a different way to do that. This is kind of where everything kind of starts, and there are tabs. I haven't actually saved it as my particular project or my favorite or substitute last year. This is my most recently used list. Things that I will go to. and they're going to have to go and find a project rather than create a project. And first get here, you have to search, and it'll load a pop-up. So you have to have pop-ups enabled by either the number or by we're going to put in. We'll put in Microsoft Bing when we get on the production environment. Right now, I saw that I have one called Project Training. Let's do 1, 2, 3 because that's easy to do. So testing 1, 3, and we find project, and I open a window. It spawns another one, and now I'm going to go into the environment of the testing 1, 2, 3 project. Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3 project. I'm at the highest level I can be in the system. But I can see how I got there. So you can see the error code, right? And it connects to the accounting system, which is not connected. I'm going to this window and close this window, and I want to show you how I create a project. I think it sort of helps stand how everything comes together. Building blocks. I don't have a project number. Let me just go ahead and just create something. And I just can create its own project. It created this very long string here. And if I want, I can go create one and put in here project number, and I'm going to call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it will create project number 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Mark, I don't think this is what we want the system. We want people to do. In the production environment, guys, I'm going to let the AE system find for me. So you're going to search by name Microsoft Bing, which is pretty simple. I will make sure you have all the information. See that there's no name assigned to this project. It's just an L in SAP at this point. So all this, actually, I'm going to, just so we can follow, so I'm going to call it a project. So a project, and we're trying, it's called 5. Called select object for creation is currently, and we don't want it blank. We want there to be something in there. And to do that, we have to find a template type and assign a template type available to us in the pre-production environment is asking USA with accounting integration. So and you can see that there is now an element called fit available up in this drop-down. There's actually a number of different things in here. This is the one that immediately populates because it's the next level of the hierarchy. If you remember, we did that hierarchy runs the phase hierarchy. So in here is that's what populates up there. At this point, if I close this window, nothing is saved in the system. I'll go to including Project Training 5. There are tabs here and a bunch of buttons. I want to go through them and show you what you have as options and you questions, but I want you to know no responsibility in a pre-production environment. I'm not sure in production we're worrying about that drop down. We won't be working about any of these things. We can solve these things. Only to worry about is program. For a bunch of we can calendar, and I think that we may use the Mission USA calendar to build everything on. But road, we want to choose that the master the USA's. But guys in the Philippines, we may create a project for you, and a favor you or a task for you, and the Filipino time zone, so that you are more so that the calendars match, right? Your national holidays match. You're in the calendar system. There's a bunch of stuff in here. Forecast is start days, constraints, and we're not going to use those for the time being. Additional, this is tied back to our accounting system. There's opportunity here for notes and for documents, and a bunch of things here. By the basic tab, and we will never have to move off the basic tab. save it for the next thing. Knowing save as encrypt. So you're going to see that up in the upper left-hand corner here. There's this button. There's a little green arrow or check mark, data saved. And we now this is created. So the next thing we want to do, going back to the PowerPoint, is we want to create the phase. How I'll be doing that is I will go here, there's phase, and I'll create in a very similar window with Spawn. You can see a different icon. It's Support Project Training 5, and we're going to give this the name Phase and Training 5, so they'll know that associated, we create this phase in association with Training 5. It'll make it easier for us down the road to know where we are to navigate. Again, happens. I know that makes sense to the system at all. We're the same. Again, leave everything as default. I'm just going to go ahead again and I'm going to say that and have the phase 5 as our hierarchy. So we're going to create the task. And you guys are going to be more engaged. I may actually get you to help me create the task. We've got about 350 of them to create. And manually input at this point. So how am I going to go in and add a task? And the task is where we create goals that we assign people to. Here we go down here, we select task, and the task we've got this phase is highlighted. And the way you highlight things in SAP is gray boxes at the side. It's not as intuitive. It's sometimes we get used to going like this, and that will highlight. It doesn't always work that way. To be aware that you may move cursor in that cell doesn't mean you've highlighted that cell, unlike Excel. So make sure that this little gray box is indented, if you will. And then we're going to go up here. We're going to select task, and we're going to pass subordinate to phase. I'm going to call that. I'm sure you already figured this out. Training 5. Okay. And I have it now. If I go up here and I click it, so I've got it over here in the elements window. You can see I've got a project, I've got a fit, I've got a tab. Far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And again, I don't know if you can see the number being created over here by the system. Everything's been created. We've been doing nothing but using defaults, and everything is still working just swimmingly. I mean, it's going to stay that way. When you get to the other environment, feel free to go around and poke around at this stuff and see what happens. There's a table view, the same kind of thing, right? The graphic view, the same information. I have Java on my machine, so I'm getting a jigsaw puzzle piece. So I'm going to go back to detail because that's what I've been working in, what I'm most familiar with, and allow me to do the things that I need to do in SAP cProject. And we'll just do that. Presumably Java is not so if on the system, close it. Now, the main window, when I first came in, you can see it's not showing up because this view is not refreshed. But if I refresh this, we're going to put our project training 5 in here. There it is, top of the list, right? Select it. Again, a pop-up window. Open. That. We've got training 5 that we created. Now we want to create role. And don't come in this drop down to get to roles, because roles is really related specifically to resources. We have to go to the resource tab over here. and a bunch of different things. But we got staffing overview, resource overview, and details. We're going to, for the time, and you can go into either one of these will allow you to do what you need to do. But I suggest you get in the habit of going to the details view, and then you've got this button, create role. At this point is you're creating a role in the system. It's not associated with training 5 at this point. It's just a thing. It's an object. And we're going to call this one, because we want to associate it, and I know which one we're going to associate. We're going to call it Training 5, Role Training 5. And as you again, it's up, it picked up the role, app and role. I don't remember ever, because we use default all along. There's a bunch of stuff in here that, again, we're not using it at this point, but will become important to us down the road. But right now, there's no way. I don't know what they're going to call, and I don't know how to tie them in. So we're not going to worry about those things for the time being. Down here, that down the road we'll want to be using. We won't be at this point. Again, all those familiar tabs across the top here, and a bunch of different things that we're again not using. So we're just going to go to general, and we're going to now save that again. But we've got this role, but it's not associated with anything. And I negotiate it for Task Training 5. So I want to go to Task Training 5, go to tab, and then again by selecting the gray box down here, means that I've got this thing. There's a live program here, and associate the role that we created, Training 5, to that. So I've got both these elements highlighted. You're supposed to see that. There's the role Training 5. It's a little red star here because there's associated with there's no resources. And that's the next thing, but we've got both highlighted. And this one highlighted, when I click Assign Role, it's going to assign this role to this task. I open it up a little bit further. You see the Role 5 training is associated with Task Training 5. I'm going to click Save because I don't lose what I've done. So that's going to be it. So if you go back, and I'm going to get out of this thing again by window, you guys are going to come in initially. You're going to come to Project Training. You're going to open the phase. You're going to open the task. You're going to find the resources tab, and you've got the role now, Training 5, and you'll be adding and removing people here. The flow for you, that's how you're going to get here.
Mm-hmm.
You have any questions on that? Well, I appreciate you saying it's clear. It's still clear to me. I've been playing the system for some time. As I say, it's actually this morning is probably the smoothest it's ever gone for me. Yesterday, the create role buttons, all these buttons disappeared. We went another role and we couldn't. It disappeared, and at some point it sort of just appeared again. It was crazy until somebody who knows the system says, "Yeah, you have that view. I'm looking at the screenshot. It's there. I don't happen to it. Oh, there it is again." You're probably going to have a similar experience too, and you will become familiar. And my guess is that as you use this over and repeatedly, you'll become extremely familiar with how this thing works. And I think one of the things we want to do is to there are a bunch of resources in this production environment that you can play with. We'll speak with Ben and we'll talk to you guys and find out what your what schedules will allow and what your loads are like. And I think that you should probably go in this system for certain time every day and add things, delete things, remove them, move them around, experiment a little bit because you can do no damage in here. In this environment, you can't break anything. Right? We don't care. How's that? Nice to have a sandbox, right?
Practice.
Exactly. So if I go here, you can see, yes, exactly. It's excellent. It's good practice. Associated with the task frame, there's nobody associated with this people yet. What we got to do is we have to find people. And the way we envision this happening out of the gate is we're going to have to stay with our current process of using Excel spreadsheet. And you're going to get a spreadsheet that says, we have, recruiting has found this resource. It needs to be assigned to the, let's say let's find a program where there is no gating process. Fix the world, right? Or whole page, right? They're straight onto the whole page roster. Instead of this being called role training 5, this is going to be it's going to be training a web search evaluator for in US, but it's going to be the one that's associated with the task of page in ENUS. So instead of task training 5, it'll be ENUS whole page organization. You'll go to that role, you'll find that task, you'll find that role, you now get that role. We're going to look for the name on that spreadsheet. The big bit since we played with this original, Mark is still around, but it's like some things have been removed. I'm not going to be able to show you all the things. 2 things that I have found I have to do to find anybody here. Calendar, and I have it out a few weeks, sometime. The 2 is I have to go to availability and make some changes there. But let's go slowly. Everything else we leave it at default. You don't have to put in USA, Australia. We don't have to do any of these activities. And there are defined results. I'm just going to go through one right now, and then we'll perhaps do a different one later on. Ordinate is, we might find a special org unit. So we're going to probably look for the org unit, Bing search or whole page or web search evaluator. I don't know what that org unit name is at this point, but have that to help you out. And that'll narrow your search. And when we know things that we need to make sure you've got that. So you can, I think I have web 5 here. If I find, so out here. Let's okay. Okay, so there's Bing there, right? So I think if we do Bing and find Bing, right? You can then say, okay, I have the people I am looking for organizational unit called Bing, and I make sure that if I'm going to reduce the scope of my search by including Bing as one of the parameters for my search, is that there's a qualifications catalog, and this appears to have been cleaned up. There's nothing in there at this point. But what a qualifications catalog will do is help narrow the recruiter's search even further. And for some managers, are going to use this function. I don't know that we're using this much in this point, but it may be that we do get, because right now we're going to know the name of the individual. We're going to have to search by what the attributes are. Yes, this person is experienced. Yes, they've done Web 5 or whole page. They've done screen. They are in a specific market. We're the name of the person we're looking for. And for us to narrow the scope of our search is the first measure that we know organizational that we're looking for. Then we go to availability. I have found that I have to, in the system right now, put in a 1 here. Availability of 1%. And for some reason, it used to be 100%. I did to 1% a couple of days ago, and it's now defaulting to 1%. I think that even with the Bing org structure So there, I'm going to get some results. So let's just do a search and see what happens. I did get a bunch of people, right? Because people are at some point, oh no, they're not. That's interesting. But to mind, it did not. There, let's search. Bing. It looks like Bing. Well, here, I got it aside. Let's say that the recruiter said that Shannon Havaskelund and Amanda Luba and Ron Morgan, sorry, those three individuals are the ones I want to send to the role training 5. They've been specific for that. So press down the control button and select those. What's the first one? Is those 3 names? You can see they've turned yellow on my screen. They're highlighted because of the gray boxes and they're held down on the control. There's stuff to us all. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to click the staff role, and they're going to find these 3 individuals to role training 5. A bunch of error messages up here. I get used to it. The last thing you need to do before you move off of here is click the OK button. Before I do that, I kind of want to scroll off here, and there are a bunch of other things after these individuals. These are the for which my search parameters were met by these individuals. And because I didn't put anything, there is qualifications catalog that we search through, ability, location, or overall match. It's 100%. But we can set a parameter, and that percent is set to 1%. We can they have to meet these parameters within 50% or 75%. You can go in here and we can say that the qualifications that are mandatory. And then there are levels of proficiency. So for us, one of the most common things is that people have to be native language in the country in which they reside and they're going to be working. So we'll make sure that they're native speakers, and that'll be part of their qualifications that are captured in the qualifications catalog. That we'll want to know more about down the road. But we can just go ahead and click OK. And now you can see that the task, Training 5, has got these 5 people associated to it through the whole Training 5. Okay? At this point, we can say, all right, I'm done. I'm going to say thing. I've done my work for today, and I check out. And back in here, I open Training again, which will be Microsoft Bing. Go and find the phase Training 5. I go look for the task. And it is my whole page. I need to add more people to it. I go back to my Resources tab, and I've got the Role Training 5, which will be called Web Evaluator, right? And Resource Search. And I will go to, I will find, right now I can just click this in. I can set a bunch of parameters. I didn't click availability. If there's one, nothing happens, right? Click it again. And they told me that Joy, Matt, Damon were actually now going to be added to this roster today. So I add them in. They're associated with that. I click OK, and I see all these people here. But I've also been told that Ronnie Morgan has to be removed from the program for whatever reason. And so go in here, and I go here, and I detail tab. Finally, it does click. It says I found her, and I'm going to delete her from this role. Deleted. That means I do know that if you deselect, nothing happens. Like taking the button off. So if I delete her then what happens is that back to I say you can see Ronnie Morgan is now gone. And we're going to add people in and remove them from our projects, the ones that we're familiar with calling, again, definition of project in SAP. And you and I live in today, we think of a project or a program as being ENUS Web 5.0 or ENPH, whole page organization, or EIN landing page, whatever, or ENUS crowdsource or MARTS or whatever it is, right? And so, again, the underlying structure will be there. It's a fairly straightforward for us at this point. I would encourage you both to it really depends. You know what? It depends on where you want, what you want to do with that and where you see yourself. And I want to speak with Ben about that. I'm happy to talk with you further offline. But I think that this is that we're always going to have a need for people who are experts at this system to us out, to guide us, and to make sure everything is running smoothly. So you guys can feel free to do that. Again, I'll get you access to, I don't know, to get you access to pre-production system. As I'm actually doing it right now. Go ahead and play with this. You'll need the VPN. Have you gotten the VPN from Dave Van Buren?
Yeah. The credentials?
Yeah, able to install that yet?
Yeah.
I haven't installed it.
I'm in the process.
Go and download those files, the VPN files, and install. And then open up a VPN session. And I'm connected with Mark because I'm a total doofus this morning. What I've got here is this is what it looks like. I'm disconnected at this point when I'm finished and out of the VPN environment. I recommend that you do that. I have found surprisingly WebEx works fine when I could hear, but that with Skype, if I connect it to the VPN and then connect to Skype and then disconnect the VPN, Skype connection goes away. I'm on Skype and I'm showing somebody this and I make a VPN connection, I get disconnected on Skype. And it was actually an accident. Like I said, guys, today has been the smoothest this has ever worked for me. Yesterday there were all kinds of errors being thrown. Things show up. They didn't work. Like screens weren't refreshing. And so I'm pleased that you guys, who I think are the most pivotal people of all the people I know so far, that are well with you. And what we'll do, what I think we'll do is we'll get this thing rolling, and I need to talk with Mark offline about this. When this thing kind of system set up, what I'll be do is we'll get on the line together, and we'll do first few together, right? We'll go on with it. We'll take that spreadsheet from recruiting and find those people in HCM, and we'll into appropriate roles. Really, ideally, so we have to add all the people that are currently in our rosters to all places. Have an idea of the scope of the rosters, right? You know how big those rosters are. Crowdsourcing is still 1,000 to be added in. Mm-hmm. So you guys will help us out. I'll get some other people to help us out. I train a few of our managers to do that and ask them to help out. But fairly hefty task. The other thing I think might be interesting for you is I'm going to show you of what has to be created in the system for sure to work. Hello, puppy. Back porch right now, wanting to get out because Mom didn't let her in before she went to work, and thank you for me to let her in. So we're going to have the project Microsoft thing, and it's the same for everything, right? There's other things in here for other programs, but for the most part, it's Microsoft thing that we're going to be working with. And that's the highest level, right? That's what we call project training 5. Then there's the phases. We're going to create these phases. I get a handful of phases. It's not a lot. These are all the primary programs that the search organization has with Bing, have separate purchase orders attached to them. Tests are a little more complex, and tests are all have to be created. These are the things that you should all be familiar with. These are the things that are UHRS that we think of as judge groups, right? Effectively. Now they're a little more descriptive than they are in UHRS, but effectively the same. And there are 285 of them that have to be created in the system attached to the appropriate phases, right? So these are attached to the phase multimedia. Well, so if you get a recruit sends you a name to be attached to the local search relevance project in speaking Dutch in Austria, you open up the project Bing, not Bing. You will look at the phase local search, and then you'll tap. You will find the role relevant to that, and because it's search relevant, part of the bigger bucket, crowdsourcing, we look here and we would find the DEAT Web Search Evaluator role and find the resource, the new resource recruiting to that role. And there are only one of these roles that need to be created. Ultimately, the unique things that we create that are going to be time-consuming is, rough 355 of them at this point. They evolve and work for all 203 of the programs that we currently have. Okay? So the nature of the task that's kind of on my plate right now is to figure out how am I going to get all this stuff into the system so that the three of us can go in and do our job. It's making sense to you guys? Do you guys start to get a sense of what has to happen and what your roles are going to be here?
Yeah.
Let me ask, at this point, you may have as many questions as you like.
Not this. After we move everything, does that mean that we no longer have to use UHRS?
Great question. So, sadly, no. And the reason that we've asked you guys to help with this is because this, you can see, is kind of another step to the process that you're currently following. Right? Mm-hmm. You're the guys that add people into the UHRS judge group. So you take a spreadsheet, you go to UHRS, you assign them in UHRS. Now you're going to go to SAP, and you're going to assign that resource to the appropriate roles in the SAP system. Long term, yes. One that Mark and Dave and I are working with our SAP vendors to accomplish is that at some point down the road, you will not have to do any of that spreadsheet stuff. You will know how to find the people that are new to the program and go and assign the resources to the roles. And when you do that, something's in there, and I don't know how it's going to work. A little magic happens, and the system reaches out and says, "Hey, HRS judge group, this one is now part of that roster, that group in UHRS. That individual can now be removed." And those will happen automatically. Time being, it's still a manual process. Long term, our goal is to automate that for you.
Okay.
Fully? Yeah. Tremendous. Terrific. Any questions you could have at this point? It's a lot, and we covered a fair amount. And I don't want to overwhelm, but I want to make sure that you go away from this call today. It's a PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is much more complex. It's got a bunch of detail in it. And maybe what I do is I create one specifically for us to use that doesn't go into the detail of all of other things, but says, here's find things, add resources, roles, here's how to remove people from roles. It would be your to do. It'll be awesome. I'll tell you, we have a new program, a new project that you guys know how to go in, how to create the task. You guys know how to assign the roles to the appropriate task. Be assigned. You're going to see that those roles can be assigned to all the tasks, right? Now you have to. Those 71 roles are going to have to be assigned to all of those 265 tasks. Really cool if you guys will know how to do that and help me with that task. Either once we launch, but down the road. We're going to have time to create a slide specific to that task. Any questions? Anything? Are you working?
No, actually, I think I have an idea about this because back in college, I think the system is familiar with
It's introduced to us.
this one. Yeah, it introduced us with as part of our course, like a basic subject. Just it talks about SAP. The first time I heard it, I really got familiar with the acronym, the abbreviation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really think those paid off. I still got to use them.
That's really helpful to know, but this is the total talk to your systems, as it were. And really, it's really interesting for me is that, I as I create walkthroughs and I figure this out, it's usually intuitive, particularly because we're not filling any of those details. We're just sort of like going through and using very base functionality. And the thing on my plate when I've got time is to go and figure out more about those details that we can use and leverage going down the road. I could say for now, it's relatively intuitive. And the way to get, and every time I use it, I learn something new. I quicker at it. This, again, has been the most seamless demonstration or experience I've ever had with this system. And I think I'm becoming more familiar with it. It's helpful for you guys to get in there and work in the pre-production environment, get familiar with that.
Sure.
Environment. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. What time is it for you in the Philippines right now?
It could be 12 midnight.
12. Holy chamoli. Oh, thanks, guys. I didn't realize it was that late.
I actually work at night because that's the time I'm most comfortable with.
Okay.
In the morning, yeah. So usually I go up to 1 or 2 a.m. So it's fine.
Okay. Okay. And I'm not going to make you any promises to get you a reduced slide deck because I haven't got it yet. I'm going to have to go and create it. I want to create some screenshots, some new screenshots for you guys, kind of based on what we just did today, because it might resonate quicker for you. Here for us to learn this thing, you and me both. And so I'll get and I'll send you. I'll make sure you get a copy of the big deck. I don't know how what your access to. I have to figure out how to get your access to it. It's a fairly large file, but you can go and look at all the details if you wish to, and then make sure we get a subset of that for you. And then the thing, I guess, is that we'll stay in contact with you. You stay in contact with me. Again, my role in this organization, I'm the director of the search business. So, I want you to know that you are free to reach out to me at any time that I can help you. Things, even Ben, so that Ben knows what's going on. I've been speaking with Ben. I know he's off on a cruise right now, training in the Mexican Gulf. Just kidding. Ben's a one. That was mean, right?
Really good sense of humor.
If Ben or I could help you in any way, I'm here to help you. And I don't want you to ever be hesitant about that. We're trying to transparent organization. And about you guys, I've heard about you for lots of great things, actually. So I kind of know about you anecdotally, and it's nice to finally have met you person to person. And I'm here to resource. Okay?
Sure.
All right.
If nothing else, I can let you go and go on with your evening. But if you have other questions, good time.
I think Mac will have the previous problem with VPN. If you just pop up like right? Deal with that.
What I will do is, absolutely will try it immediately since the credentials, and so I could raise some of the issues that would arise, so that I could inform you with that. And
Sure,
there's
let
no
me know.
errors. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'll send you both. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Before when because actually I'm using three different kinds of internet connection now.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm using my phone's data plan whenever I'm something, and then I use the house internet connection, which is a pocket Wi-Fi. Also have the wired one. And it's that the pocket Wi-Fi connection seems to have probably VPN access. So I'm gonna try checking it out later on and see how it goes. Yeah.
I see.
Mark, one comment about this is because both of you guys are in the Philippines, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, if you're in the office, you shouldn't need to use the VPN client. We see a persistent VPN connection from the Philippines office to the data center in Toronto. So if you're in the office, you don't need to use the VPN client.
All right, that's great. So I'll be in the office more often.
Well, you know. That's good. We're trying to get more and more people into the Davao office. I know there's a few people there now, but I also manage our tech support program for search there, and those guys are probably going to start going into the office too. So I know that you guys know Carolyn. You know her, Carolyn?
I'm familiar.
She send reports to Carolyn. She'll be there sometime in the next month or so, I think.
Oh.
A chance to meet her.
The post has its disadvantages also.
Yeah, I agree.
In the office. Yeah. In the office once in a while.
In the same way, I'm actually at home right now, but I was in our office yesterday. So, okay, I'm going to send you my details so that you know how to get a hold of me directly, and I'll send you a link to where you can go and find the big slide deck, and I will work on sending you or getting you access to the slide deck specific to us. Questions?
Good. So,
Yeah, so far I'm also good. Pretty usually when you look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes easier and more user friendly.
yeah.
I guess I want to make sure that these guys have access to the pre-production environment too. Sorry that actually you'll have that information in the next time.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think that's somebody else. I guess what Amy said when we were in Connecticut. Yes, Excel on steroids.
That's one way to look at it.
All right, gentlemen. Well, if we're done, then I'm going to let you go. And again, I really appreciate you joining me this morning. I think it's been educational for me. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to getting to know you better. And again, I am here at your disposal if you're in need of anything.
Looking forward.
All right. Right. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have a great evening also.
Yes. All right. Stop recording.